Okay, good morning to every one of you, and thank you very much to the Kavi Mehta University, Junagadh, to allow me to undertake the research scholar program for the Ph.D. scholar. Yesterday, we have tried to be discussed about the different type of hypotheses and how the hypotheses have been developed. Now, once the hypotheses have been developed, there is a need is happen to work out the parametric test and non-parametric test. Today we are going to be discuss about the parametric test, which are going to be applicable in the case of the interval and ratio scale based data. That is the major parameters for which we are concentrating. Today we are going to have the somewhere the overlapping is going to be happen about yesterday's discussion speedily to recall you that what we have, why we have been required to do the parametric study. Now here when we yesterday looked about the statistics, so British psychiatrists not Canvin have said when you can measure what you are speaking about and express it in number, you know something about it. It means that he has very categorically mentioned that whatever hypothesis we develop or anything we do, it should be measurable. Maybe in the nominal scale, ordinal scale, ratio scale, or such and such way. So, if you cannot express numbers, your knowledge is of meager and unsatisfactory kind. Yesterday, I have taken the sample and random sampling by considering the 26 alphabets, and from that we have selected. Today, I am coming to the concept of the random sampling, where simple random sampling is a procedure is used, where each member of the population is having the equal chances to be selected as a sample. So no, there is only the possibility that anyone can be selected as a sample. Additionally, today also I am going to be discuss and presenting the screenshot of the SPSS 31 that how we can go and analyze the report. Today's my presentation is in two parts. Part 1 I am going to discuss, and then there is a part B is there where certain statistical formula and how you can use that to calculate the database based on action sheet, which is being not I'm going to discuss, but it is a part of the presentation. After my presentation is over, there the additional slides are there. But my concentration will be on the SPSS. SPSS 31 is a very recently, by the July 25, came into existence. And yesterday we have discussed that there are the two type of the statistics we are coming: descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Descriptive statistic is going to be based on the graphical presentation, tabular presentation, while the inferential statistics support us to make a prediction, forecast, and estimate us to assist the decision making. Yesterday I said that we are needing to clean the database. That is what I said, that we have to find out the outliner from our database and we should come down to the acceptable standard. So in case if you are selecting the number of sample to be selected 500, then my suggestion is that you should always take the number of sample more by nearly 20 to 25 percentage. So if you take the 700 sample, sorry, 40 percentage, you should select the more by 40 percentage sample. So if your selected sample size is 500, you want to be taken into consideration in your research project, then you should select the 700 sample. So nearly 140 samples, 20 percentage of samples are going to be come in the outliner mode or not being acceptable, because there is a contradictory reasons have been coming. So the Number of sample you should select 700, so you can come across to the acceptable stand samples between 500 to 540, and your research project is going to be acceptable. We make a descriptive database and we make the inference statistics. Now, when we come to this particular level, today I am coming to the one of the very important thing, that as yesterday I mentioned, we have the four level of the scale of the database is there, like a nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Yesterday I have shown this by way of the thermometer and like that, but today I am coming with an example. Like if it had to be looked to the nominal scale, then it is going to be student ID number, yes or no, man or female, whether you buy or don't buy it. So numerical operation is going to be counting only, and that counting is going to be applicable to the frequency mode by you. Okay, and that's going to be give you the one of the very important parameters to understand at that point of time that how you can work on this. Now when I come down to the ordinal database, where we are going to rank your theme movie, like are you being satisfied or not, or indicate your level of education. So it is counting and ordering, where we can use the descriptive statistic, frequencies, mode, median, and age. Normally in the ordinal data scale, our more concentration is on the median. When we come down to the interval scale, where we are doing the common arithmetical points, or there is going to be the point of rating is going to be given, but it is going to be given in the very proper way. So we can do the correct mathematical calculation. In addition to the above, we are going to be take the mean, variance, and standard deviation. As you know, the variance is the square of the standard deviation. Ratio. Ratio we are going to use to know that what is the amount spent on last purchase, what is annual family income, and so, where all arithmetic operations can be done by you, including variance and so. Now, yesterday I already talked about the inferential statistics, that I explained you about this shaded line, that this is going to be the shaded line for the null hypothesis, and this red portion given in the second graph on the both left hand and the right hand is basically indicate the alternate hypothesis. Now, when to use a particular type of statistics is a very important. So what is your gender? So it is known as nominal scale. So we use the mode, not mean. We cannot have the 30.5% man person or like that. So we should look toward the mode for that. So we can do the percentage distribution. Yank these five bands from your first choice to fifth choice. Means you are giving the yanking. So we can use the ordinal scale where the median is to be used. On a scale of 1 to 5, how does star bake? Yes, on a variety of his coffee drink. There we use the interval scale, and the value is going to be the mean. And we can work out the variability by taking into consideration the standard deviation and the age. Same thing is done by us for the ratio scale. Now, yesterday I already explained about this, the sign to be used in the Greek letter and Roman letter based on your database. Now here I am coming to the SPSS 31. Yesterday I already discussed about the data view, and there only we are taking the, if you look to the left hand side, there are the different type of the variables have been given, and then you can choose the dependent variable. Like you try to be saying this example, that what is the current SIV, Shelley. That current Shelley level is going to be depends on the previous year experience, months since you are working in the company, or beginning like that. Whatever the variables you require, you can take the variable for that. So there is no need that would be only one independent variable. You can take the more than one independent variable. Here in this particular screenshot, I have taken the three independent variables. Now here yesterday I already said that we are selecting the level of significance, where we can say that the 5% level of significance means 95% is confidence level, which is normally we have been using in our social science, commerce and management research, because commerce and management research is basically part and parcel of the social science research. And this is known as basically the band shaped curve, and it indicates the symmetry. When the shape is not exactly the band shape, then it is known as the asymmetrical curve or skewed curve. And apart from center tendency and disperse, it is essential to know the shape of the distribution to describe the data set. Like I should, like doctor would like to be know that whether particular medicine is going to be reduce the blood pressure or not. So he is trying to be use the naphthalene test like that. So whatever your hypothesis is there, what is your tentative statement is there, whatever you want to be achieved, based on that you are going to be decide. So to develop that hypothesis, you should note your database and you should know about it, that what is to be happen. When we try to be look towards the asymmetrical database, the very important thing is coming with our sample database, that whether the samples are being validated and reliability or not. So here we can say that at the first reference side where my cursor is there is a reliability is high and the validity is high. But when we try to be same here, the validity is high, but reliability is lower because data is being moving to across each other. Now, when both are going to be no, then it is going to be one of the particular side the data is going, and that indicates. Now we can understand that reliability get more attention because it is easier to understand, easier to measure, for which we are using the bench alpha. Reliability of our data is going to be calculated by the bench alpha, the SPSS, analysis icon. Within that analysis icon, reports are being available where you click on the particular point, you will get the reports have been generated. Governments and find that. So you can have the more statistics are available and it's the base for validity. Validity is the extent to which a test measure what it is supposed to measure. It's a very important thing. And that is why the proper level of the statistical tool we have to use in our research project. So the three questions are coming into picture. That is the form of the test, purpose of the test, and the population for whom it is intended. Now this is our yesterday, whatever we tried to be understanding, got the general idea. Today I am trying to be discussing on the parametric test, but as the course is being somewhere related to each other, Dr. Dinesh have requested me to take the 2 hours time together, but I said no, because whatever the point you understand today, you need to be revise it, and tomorrow morning you should come with a fresh mind. But today's discussion, I will be discussing parallelly what is the difference between the parametric test and non-parametric test. Now, when we try to be say the parametric test, the assumption of the normality, that is a bell-shaped curve, we specify that the means of the sample group are normally distributed, and there is an assumption of the equal variance. It means that if we are taking the sample from two populations, then mean, then data is going to be normally distributed, and the variances are also going to be in the equality way. But if the assumption of the normality is not being happen in your database, so if your distribution of data is on the left chain or on the right chain, then we have to use the non-parametric statistical test. This is a very important. So once we get the database and we prepare the curve graph, which is being available by the SPSS 31, where you can go to the analysis report descriptive statistics module. There you will get the one type of the symbols having available, that which type of the graph you have to make it. So you select the graph, and based on that you can decide whether I should go with a parametric statistical test or the non-parametric. Why non-parametric test is required? It's a very important. In order to achieve the correct result from the statistical analysis, we should know the situation in which application of non-parametric test is applicable. So when our doctoral thesis is there, it is going to be consist of both type of the test may be happen. It may give you to use the parametric test also and the non-parametric test also. When the underlying data do not fulfill the normality assumptions and the variance is heterogeneous, means variance is not same. Heterogeneous means different. The population size is too small. It means that it is between 2 to 30. Correct? The analyzed data is ordinal or the nominal database, then we have to definitely use the non-parametric test. We cannot remove the outliner from the database, then we should go with a non-parametric test. And non-parametric work when we skew distribution. That's what I said, left chain or the right chain. And it is better represented by the median. So here we can simply take the difference between the two. That assumed distribution in the case of parametric is normal, while non-parametric is anyone. Parametric, we are assuming the variance is going to be homogeneous, but in non-parametric, it may be homogeneous or the heterogeneous. Data set relationship. In the parametric case, we can take it as an independent. Like two independent samples, two different divisions. We are trying to be work out the student performance level. Then we can use the parametric test. Non-parametric test can be used in any situation. So in that way, the non-parametric test application area is quite wider. Use one center value, mean and median, but the parametric test is having the drawing a more better conclusion in compared to the non-parametric test, because non-parametric test is simple. Now yesterday what I say, that is I am repeating speedily, that wherever sample size is less than 30, we use the T distribution test. The variance of the T distribution is always greater than 1 and can be defined only if n is equal to or greater than 3, but less than equal to 30. So I say that minimum 2 samples are required. So for performing your t-test, the number of samples should be between 3 to 30. Now, if the calculated value of table value is greater than n minus 1, n minus 1 is known as the degree of freedom. We are minusing n minus 1 because when we compare the database and we take the sample, so one of the sample is being taken as a base step of the staircase. So we always use the n minus 1. Yesterday I told you that you bring the t distribution table. You will have the table named as a t distribution table will be available with you, where degree of freedom is given n minus 1 and probability is given 0.10 or 0.05, or some of the book it is say 0.90, 0.95. It is one and the same thing. That some of the books are being making the quantum by giving the confidence level, and some of the books are making the quantum by giving the p-value. P-value stands for probability. And then you can refer to the cross value with a degree of freedom 10. Let us take the degree of freedom 10 and the p-value is 0.05 or confidence level is 0.95. Then at the degree of freedom 10, it means 11 sample minus 1, so 10. And the probability level of significance is 5. Then value is given 2.23. So table value is 2.23. If your calculated value is greater than the 2.23, then you can reject the null hypothesis. It means that you are accepting the alternate hypothesis that two samples are differ significantly. We can use the p-value also. Like whenever we go to the SPSS, the SPSS report is always giving the significance value. When the significance value is less than 0.05, then it indicates that the null hypothesis is being rejected. So I have tried to be take the both way. When there is a SPSS is not used, when SPSS have been used, you can do it. Now coming to the when the sample size is more than 30, we calculate the Z value. It means that the number of samples are more than 30. The Z value test is also, table value is also going to be counted in the same way in the, and that table is normally known as the Z distribution table. That is the normal probability curve. And you can come across that whenever there is going to be the degree of freedom, maybe 10, what may be the value will be coming to you. And you can find out that value and you can take the comparison for the same. Like the t test table, the Z test table is there. Now, basics of the applicable is that when sample size is greater than 30, you always use the Z distribution test. Or you can take the p-value 0.05. The medical profession may be taking the value as a 0.01. It is acceptable for us because there the high level of the precision is being required. Yesterday I said that whenever we require a high level of the precision, we should take the level of significance 1%. When we are being looking towards the moderate level of the precision in our social science, we normally use the 5%. Test statistics are always based on the probability distribution. So level of significance is basically indicating the probability. So whenever level of significance is 5, it means that there are the chances that 5 mistakes are done by us. Probability of 5 out of 100 tests or 100 sample. And that is one of the very important value of P. Now yesterday we have already done the naphthalene, nitrate, and the two-chain test. Yesterday I said this acceptance region is for the null hypothesis, and this is the right chain alternate hypothesis, and this is naphthalene alternate hypothesis. So when you take in second paragraph, second two-chain test, where the 5% means 2.5 percentage is coming on the left hand side and 2.5 percentage is coming on the right hand side. So balance is coming to the 95 percentage as I acceptance region. So critical value, yes, we have already said is always being depends on the level of significance and the alternative hypothesis. So doctor study normally based on that. By comparing the critical value and the calculated value, we reject or accept the non-hypothesis. At 5% or 1% level of significance, I already explained the table value and that way we should do it. Parametric test. Further, a parametric test is a kind of hypothesis test which gives generalization for generating records regarding the mean of, this is the one of the C. Parametric test it depends on mean. And we can use the statistical t-test, student t-test when the sample size is lower than that. So t-test runs on the underlying hypothesis, which includes the normal distribution of variance. Mean is known to you, and we can find out that the sample drawn is from the population itself. When we come to the non-parametric, it says that it is a hypothesis which is not based on the underlying. In case of non-parametrics, there is a difference on median is going to be worked out. It means that the average height of a one group of students and another group of students are going to be worked out by us, and that is going to be take us to the proper name. So the difference between the two is happening that parametric test, the assumptions are made of the sentence and value, mean value, while non-parametric test is median. Here, very important thing, we are going to be calculate the Pearson correlation coefficient in case of parametric test. In case of non-parametric test, we are using the spearman. So the students who have pursued the commerce graduation, they are knowing that we use the spearman rank coordination whenever there is a beauty contest or some type of the judgment of the judges are to be evaluated. Probabilistic distribution is going to be normal in the case of parametrics when it is going to be arbitrary in the case of non-parametrics. Population knowledge is required in the case of parametric. That we can say that the average height of the students studying in the 6th standard may be 5 foot, but such type of point does not require in the non-parametric test. Parametric test is used for interval data. In the SPSS, we are naming it as a scale data, and non-parametric for nominal data and ordinal data. Applicability in the parametric test is happen of only variables, but non-parametrics we take the attributes also. So our Ph.D. thesis also we require to work out the demographic database, age of the sample, income of the sample, gender of the sample size, and so on. So that is known as attributes. Examples here we can use Z test. Here we use the Kuskal, Vanish, and Man Whitney test as a major test. Now I am showing you the SPSS 31 report generated. Now, if you try to be see here, the descriptive statistic it is saying that coincidentally mean and standard deviation is given and the number of sample is also being given. Here I am not in a position to disclose the more data because it's my submission by database. Previous year experience has been said about mean value and the standard deviation. Here you know that the standard deviation is greater than the mean value. So coefficient of variation is very high. Here at the back side, I have said the Pearson coordination coefficient, where it was said that current sending and the previous year experience have the coordination coefficient is negative 0.097. My month seems higher. The current sending and month seems higher have the positive coordination shape of the 0.084 with the y with respect to beginning sending it is 0.880. This is the way reports have been generated which you can convert into the PDF copy. Now how these reports have been generated? So I say that you can go to the SPSS 31, you can go to the analysis. In the analysis, once you click on the analysis, you get the third icon available, third option available about descriptive statistics. Now, descriptive statistics, you have frequency, descriptive, population descriptive, percentile, normality analysis is available. This is very important. So what I say that whether my data is normal or abnormal, that is going to be indicated. So symmetrical level of data or asymmetrical level of data is going to be mentioned by that. They are also trying to be made the chi-square calculation. Here the last point is given chi-square, which is one of the very important parametric tests. So now I come to the chi-square test. Chi-square test, people are naming it as a chi-square, some people are naming it as a chi-square. Whether you can say it as a chi-square or chi-square, both is okay for you. Is a parametric test used to judge the significance of population variance. It means that whether the population variance is same or not. Chi-square, the very important point is that, and why it is being given in the descriptive database, descriptive reporting, reason is very clear that the chi-square can be used by you for parametric test and non-parametric test both. So it satisfies the both condition. So it is a parametric test to judge the significance of population variance, whether the populations are being drawn from the same, from a normal population or not. We use it. Second way, chi-square will be used as a non-parametric test also to know the significance of association between two attributes. I already mentioned that, how the two attributes are coming. I say that in the case of beauty contests, two or three judges are there, and every judge give the ranking based on their own parameters, based on their own understanding. So, judging judge are using their attributes. For that purpose, the chi-square being used to ascertain that how appropriately the theoretical distribution is fit. Does it happen that two judges are there and both judges are contradictory to each other? Then you come to the very complication and you require to replace the judge. And that's why if you look to the any TV serial where judges are there, you must have seen that there are the more than two judges are there. You must have seen it in particular type of the competition in the TV, where there are the more than two judges are there. Because when the two judges are being coming directly to the contradictory to each other, it is coming to difficult to decide what is the decision. Now, once we know that there is a judgment of the judges or the data or the sample from the populations are there, so we have to establish the relationship between the degree and direction between the two variables under study. Like we can say that age and height. As the age of the person is increasing, up to certain age, height is going to be increased. So these are the two variables, age and height. So that relationship is to be established. For that relationship, there is a correlation is used, but it does not reflect the cause and effect, because there are the chances that the person height is more, sorry, age is more, but height is lower. So there is no cause and effect relationship. When we have to establish the cause and effect relationship, we go to the regression analysis. When we have to only look towards the direction and the degree of relationship, we go to the correlation. So if the variable have cause and effect, then they have, but at the same moment, when there is a high degree of correlation is there, then it open up our parameters that we can go on studying the regression analysis. We can see that what is the cause and effect relationship. But if there is a lower level of the correlation is there, then we cannot establish the cause and effect relationship. Normally, the cause and effect relationship can be established if the correlation coefficient is more than 0.8. The correlation is maybe happening on account of pure chance. It may be mutually dependent on each other's, or some factors are influencing. That can be possible. Now, whenever we have the samples are taken from the population, so and we calculate the correlation, there is a possibility of the probable error to happen. So once the correlation coefficient is calculated, we have to find out the probable error. Probable error is also going to be indicated by your correlation coefficient calculations provided by the SPSS 31, where the PE value is being given. So it's a measure of testing the reliability of the correlation coefficient, because correlation coefficient are always being indicated by the small I, and it is based on random sampling. It is normally being said that if the value of the I is less than the probability, probable error of I, then I is not significant. But if the I value is greater than the 6 probability of I, then I is significant. So our PhD thesis, our dissertation, we have to make sure that whatever the correlation coefficient we are working, is it significant or not? Otherwise, when your thesis is going to the external review, like I'm getting the as an external reviewer so many theses, and if the research scholar does not have indicated this point in the chapter number 3 and in the chapter number 4 by way of the statistical data analysis, there is a chances of the rejections are normally being increasing. So, and in another case, there is no conclusion. So, coordination is the measure of relationship between the two variables. So, it is a tool available for analyzing the strength and direction of the relationship between the two variables. But now two variables, strength and direction is being worked out in the terms of quantitative. The value of the correlation coefficient is always going to be between -1 to +1. That is a very important. Minus side indicates negative correlationship. Positive side indicates the positive correlationships. And it has, so if it is more than minus zero point 0.8 or plus zero point 0.8, it indicates the cause and effect relationships. So here I have given it by way of design that x is increased, y is increased, it means it is positively correlated. If both are being moving to the negative reduction side, it is known as positive correlated. It means that whether it is increase or decrease is not going to be decide the positivity or negativity. But if one variable is increased and another variable is decreased, where x is increasing and y is decreasing, it is known as negatively correlated. Now, whenever we go to the descriptive database and we go to the graph in the SPSS 31, we can get the generation of the output is happen. Here to make your work easy, I have taken directly the respective graphical presentation based on my database, where this is indicating the linear correlationships. This is x value is increasing because convex is 0, where my highlighter is there, night pen is there, it's a 0 value. Y is increasing, x is increasing, so it is known as positive correlation. This is known as negative correlation. This is known as the Kavi linear correlation. And this is going to be the very important in the financial management or financial analysis study. When you are doing your PhD in finance and commerce, and if you are trying to be know that what is the structure of the capital structure and its impact on profitability, then optimum capital structure can be worked out by this particular way, where the cost is going to be or benefit is going to be particular way. It depends what is y is indicating, what is x is indicating. Now, whenever the database is going to be within the broad line, this is indicating the strong relation, positive relationship and negative relationship. But when the data is dispersed, data points are dispersed from the main line, center line, then this is indicating the weak relationships. There are going to be the no relationship which can be established because it does not indicate positive attitude, it does not indicate negative attitude. So this is not possible. Here it is, here also there is no correlation because whether the value of x is increased or not, whatever the x value is increased, the y value is remains same. So there is no relationship between the two. Now, I already explained this, but graphically I am making presentation that when the value is -1, it is negative coordination. When it is 0, it is no coordination. When it is +1, it is positive coordination. So your answer is going to be within these 9 only. So your coefficient of coordination is always going to be between -1 to positive to +1, and the decision is to be taken. Graphical way, when we go to the SPSS 31, it is also being indicating that how this positive and negative no coordinationship and the weak relationship have been established. Now I am just showing you, but not explaining, mentioning you by way of the coordination coefficient formula. Majority time, when the students are mentioning in their chapter number 3 in the research methodology that we are going to be use the coordination coefficient as per kind Pearson, then it is important for you to explain the formula what you are going to use. And then you can say that this formula is to be used for the kind Pearson, but we are taking the output by the SPSS or the actions. But formula needs to be explained. Same way, whatever probable error is happen, whatever the Spearman's rank coordination is there, whenever we are taking the Spearman's rank coordination, it is known as the Spearman error. Whenever we are being taking the Pearson coordination, it is known as probable error. Now, when we try to be make the square of the I, which is one of the very important, which is indicating the coefficient of determination, which is indicating that the total variation in the dependent variable explained by independent variable. So when the I square is say 0.95, it indicates that 95 percentage of the variation in the dependent variable is based on variation of the independent variable. So it is better. So higher the value of I square is indicating the stronger relationship between the dependent variable and independent variable, or it says that the dependent variable is highly depends on the independent variable, and this formula you have to mention it in the chapter number 3 of your thesis. Now here I say that if my I value is 0, I square value coefficient determination, it means that 0% variation in y is distributed attributable to x. Now here 50% variation in y is attributable to x. And here it says that is 100%. So you can move from no relation to moderate to strong relations between the two. Now once we come down to the coordination, and we come down to the coordination value is high, which we get it from the scatter diagram we understood earlier. And we calculated the coordination. Coordination is establishing the relationship between the one dependent variable and one independent variable. But in practical life, the height of the student, height of an individual, is depends on age, then DNA of his family, and everything is going to be played a role, or the physical activity or the game he play. So more than one variable is affecting. So in that case, we have to come down to the regression analysis. So we predict the value of dependent variable based on value of at least one. At least one means minimum one independent variable. So number of independent variable may be more also. Yesterday I already explained the meaning of dependent and independent variable. Independent variables are also known as regressor. Some of the research books are naming it as a regressor. Some of the books are naming it as a predictor. Some of the books are naming it as an explanatory. So any words you can use it. Dependent variable are being used by some author as a regress and some by the explain variables. Now, senior linear equation where independent variable is always being nominated by x. It may be x1, x2, x3, x4. Like so, you can say that there are four independent variable and dependent variable is one, that is y. Now here I am taking a graphical presentation and then, sorry, I mean mentioning the equation, then I will come down to the graphical level. Where the simple linear regression model says that value of y is going to be depends on the population y intercept value. This is known as the constant value. B1 is indicating the population slope coefficient. B1 is the slope coefficient of the x1, and E is basically indicating the random error term. Means there is any sample you have made the outliner, but still the sum of the outliner is missed out by you. That is coming by way of random error. So graphically, it is indicating that B0 is the intercept term. It means that the value of y is going to be minimum this highlighted point when x is 0. And then you can draw the curve and you can get the predicted value of y. Predicted value of y, it means that whatever the value of the b0, b1 like that you have worked out, you predict, you calculate the estimated value of y. That is known as y by. That is predicted value or y cap. That is predicted value of y. And this is actual observed value. So difference between the actual observed value and predicted value is known as the random error term. And this indicates the slope of the curve. The same thing I have explained it in the formula from the graph. Now I come to the least square method. The ultimate objective of our research project is that the number of error should be minimum. Error terms should be minimum. So we should minimize the sum of the squared deviation. So we can take the observed value and the predicted value of y square value should be minimum. Now now predicted y value formula is put up here. Now if you go to the SPSS 31, you can go to the SPSS 31 on the upper keyboard, upper key side. It is saying report generation, sorry, analysis. Within the analysis, you can select the coordinate, then the coordination will be calculated and on graph will be available, on data will be available. Here I clicked on regression. Now here on the regression it is say automatic linear modeling, or you can go to the linear modeling, you can do the curve estimation, you can do the original database, or non-linear relationship. Graph is also going to be presented by that, and the report will be available. So this is the way where we can do the report generation through the SPSS 31. Now based on that, we are getting the report is generated. Here the Pearson coefficient is given. Now next year, if you know, I have taken a more slide screenshot where it shows that the Spearman's coordination significant value, like it is being said here, that what is the significant value is coming, and the number of samples. So by using this particular statistics, you can come down to the proper level of the working, and your report is generated. But the very important thing is that whatever SPSS report is generated by you, database with you, you need to be given to your guide the full set of database so that he can learn on his own and he can find out the pitfall in your reports. So there is a pitfall of the equation analysis is very important, where it is a necking of awareness of the assumptions of the least square regression. So you need to study the good research book and statistics book to understand the assumptions taken for least square. You should know how to evaluate these assumptions. Now, Nakini, my time I did everything manually because before 35 years ago I completed my doctorate. So I did manually. But today you are lucky enough, you have the SPSS database is available. So SPSS will also try to give you the result of each assumptions. And you can use the modem for that. But regression analysis you can use only for the given range of data. Extrapolating is not being allowed. Up to the bachelor study, you use the regression model to extrapolate or estimating the future fact. But in case of doctoral study, it is not being allowed. Now, how you can avoid the pitfall? By preparing the scatter graph, then you note the residual analysis to check the assumption. So if the violation of the assumption is happened, then it is known as the homoscedity. You can use the histogram, stem and display, box and whisker. Box and whisker is basically supporting you to find out the outliner of your database or non-normality. So there is a violation of any assumption. You can use the alternative method. That is what we see. That number of methods names have been given. So you can use the another any method and you can come down to that. I have come down to the simple linear equation modern example, which I am trying to be skip it. But there is a SPSS report generation can be done where you can say regression coefficient estimate, confidence interval, like you can say 95%. I have not clicked mark, but it is seen at a small word eyes. Then covariance matrix, you can say modern square, I square change, means coefficient of determinant, descriptive, part and partial coordination can be worked out by you, collinearity can be worked out, and selection criteria can be taken by you. Now I am giving this example of the sample database where value of the house have been worked out and the interpretation have been given. Now we also use the ANOVA. Oh no, yes here. 2 minutes, huh? Here. Okay. So there is a ANOVA test is a one of the base tests which is also known as a F test. So only point you have to you make sure that F test and T test is complementary. So if the value of the F test is high, T is to be followed. F test is followed if the T value is not found significant. These 2 points you have to keep it in mind, very important thing. If you don't, if you make an error in this point, your doctoral study is somewhere not being acceptable. For that purpose, we work out the auto coordination. When data is connected over the time, auto coordination is being required. Like in the financial management, when you are trying to be study the pattern of the industry over the time series, at that time you have to come down to the Durbin Western parameters. And Durbin Western indicates the residual analysis whether it is dependent or not dependent. And it indicates the normalities or abnormalities in the case of equal variance also. And this is the reports are being generated by the Durbin value. Durbin value is basically indicating one of the very important graph that if the Durbin value is lower than 1.29, then you should reject the null hypothesis. If it is greater than 1.45, you do not reject the null hypothesis. Okay, it means here the null hypothesis is accepted, here the null hypothesis is rejected. But if your Durbin value is coming between 1.29 to 1.45, your auto coordination shift is inconclusive. This is what graphically have been presented. So this is the same thing. Formula you are supposed to be mentioned in the chapter 3 and you have to make it. Do you have any question, friends? I have given you yesterday also my contact. Now from the slide number 92 to 125 is on the statistical equations I've been given. Any question, friends? Thank you very much to the university to provide me opportunity, and thank you very much to Dr. Dinesh and here Dr. Dinesh to invite me in this particular research workshop as a resource person, and I am also thankful to the here to coordinate the workshop in the significant and proper way. Thank you very much, friends. Yes, here, any point? Hello. Yes, here. I hope I have completed in my exact timing. Slide number 90, slide number 92 to 125 is also very important in the chapter number 3 of the research thesis, where you are going to be discuss about the research methodology. Research corner is supposed to be give the formula. And then they can say that we are going to be use this formula, but to for the statistical calculation purpose, we have used the action sheet or the SPSS 31. Okay, or whatever the SPSS version you can use. From SPSS 22 onwards, this own type of the report generation is possible. SPSS 31 have the more reports are being available. Thank you very much for the same. Thank you. Tomorrow we are going to be discuss about the non-parametric tests. Okay. Thank you. Now I am leaving, madam. Okay.